So I applied, and when I applied, they called me, did my psychometric test, went well, and they appointed me. So I actually worked there for like 5 years. Yes, as a traffic officer, chasing cars in the busy
No,
streets
you're
of Pretoria.
lying right now.
Yes,
What, you were a metro cop?
I was.
Did you tell them back home, you're
No,
traffic cop?
I didn't. I told my mom, I've got something that I've just, remember I told you my mom is a teacher.
Yes.
You can just understand how they think.
She looked down on the career, or was she worried about your safety? What was it that was, or the fact that you've studied something and that you are not doing it?
I think she looked down on the career. I think for her, she had better hopes and aspirations for me.
When did you trip and fall into actually thinking, I'm going to build a detergent business?
I felt that there has to be more. I always felt like there's more to me. There's more that I can give to other people. But I didn't know how. And I enjoyed making soap. I used to make soap all the time at home. But then lockdown happened. And when lockdown happened, I think that it just gave me time to reflect.
You eventually made it to the big guys. You're
Yes,
now
we
at
did.
ShopRite, and how did that go? Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode. I'm joined by Lufuno, and in fact, you are one of our suppliers at Kwalisa, right?
Yes, I am.
So I'm super excited to find out your journey and where it started, how it's going, and where it is going. But I can certainly attest that just watching your journey has been super amazing. So I'm pretty certain that you're going to enjoy this week's episode. So, Lufuno, maybe let's start with the beginning, where it all began. Like, when you were young, I'm assuming there was an entrepreneur in your family, or you started selling Amasimba chips at school. Is that archetype story, or you did it differently?
I think it was quite different with me.
Oh.
Yeah, because I've always been an academic. I've always been like passionate about studying, getting ahead, being top of the class, doing my very best. And I think just in my high school years, I always aspired to be an engineer. So for me, it was just being a civil engineer and making lots of money. But in the midst of all that, I think right now when I look back, I realize that my mom is a teacher. So, but she always had side hustles. So in the mix of being a teacher, a primary school teacher, she also like bake. She would make hats, she would make clothes, and she made soap. And so I guess that's where I got this.
Really? She even back then she was making soap. So
Yes, she
this
was.
is not because of what you ended up doing as a career, that you ended up doing soap or detergents. Are you saying it goes way, way, way back into time?
Definitely. Because my mom used to make soap,
Yeah.
and she used the same indigenous plant that we're using right now. So she had a secret recipe that she used to make the detergents or the soap, to make it more foamier. And because I was the eldest child, I had to help her with the soap making, and I didn't enjoy it at all. For me it was a chore. But little did I know that it was just a launch pad for where I am right now.
How did she know about making soap? Where did she get that plant and that secret recipe?
She is very much creative. She's a creative. Like I said, she bakes, she makes clothes. So, and I think she's very ambitious. She's one person who just goes out and she researches in her own space or with the resources that she has.
Yes.
Because I remember, I think a year back, she's like, I'm baking nice cake, nice cookies, but I can't. There's this beautiful designs that people are doing these days. So it was actually fondant. She's like, but I don't know how to do it. And then she came to Pretoria, she booked a 2-week course, and then she learned how to do it. So that is just who she is. So I guess also with that, it went in with the research and the curiosity as to, because I asked her why this particular plant, and she's like, no, my mom used this while I was growing up. So because they didn't have detergents back then, they used that plant as a soap.
I like how you call it that plant. So you're not sharing this IP.
No.
Yeah, this is a family secret, right?
It is.
But so I mean, if she was the one who was entrepreneurial, was there anybody else in your family, and maybe your siblings as well, or she was your North Star? That's where you saw it, even if you were reluctant in the beginning.
Miles, I don't really think she was my North Star because I never, not even once did I think I would become an entrepreneur.
Really?
At all. And my sister, the one that comes after me, we're 4 girls. The one that comes after me is a chemical engineer.
Wow.
And she's always been like, she studied chemical engineering, and I always say she's the brightest in the family, and she is. But after she completed her degree, she went to Israel. She did her masters, and when she returned, she's like, "No, this is not what this is not what I want to do. I actually want to research more, do nanotechnology." I'm like, "What is this girl thinking about?" For me, it was always like, "You've got a job, and now you want to leave your job and do something else." Then she pursued beauty. She did this, and right now, as we speak, she's also abroad, just pursuing her dreams.
Wow. Well, I would think if you have someone like her who is actually into chemistry, that would have been the first person you would have hired as like a chief technology officer of some sort.
Indeed.
How come that hasn't happened?
Because she doesn't want to do anything chemical engineering related. She's got her own ambitious
Yeah,
dreams,
that's true.
and
Yeah.
plans. And you can't always force people to do
Yes.
what you want to do
Uh-huh.
with them. So, but yeah, so that's why I'm saying to you, I actually never thought I would be the entrepreneur in the business. But I thought with her, yes. And
Mm.
then for me, it was also a very crazy thing to be like, but you've got a degree, girl, you've got a job. Why are you thinking about that?
Mm.
But I think now that I'm in this space, I really understand what she saw.
Yes.
Mm.
So school, there was zero interest, and did you study further to university, and like what did you study, and and then what happened? Did you do corporate? And yeah.
Yeah, I did. I studied further. I did my civil engineering.
Uh-huh.
And after I completed, I couldn't get employment.
So you learned how to build bridges, and then you can't get a job
Yes, I
in
couldn't.
Africa where we need a lot
Well,
of
we need a
roads
lot of
and
those. Yeah, I couldn't get a job. And going back home was not an option for me. I always felt, no, now that I'm this side, with us, it's like, you are born in Venda, you are bred there,
yes,
then you spend like 12 years of your life there.
yes.
So the moment you
You
jump
can get
out,
out. You're not
you
going
don't want
back
to go.
home.
So that was me. I was like, no, 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 I'm not going back. And a friend of mine was like, you know what? They always advertise posts at TMPD. You can apply. You are very bright, and I'm sure you can make it. I'm
What's
like, is it?
TMPD?
It's on a Metro Police Department. Like, is it? She's like, yes. So I'm like, okay, let me try it because I can't do waiter. So I applied, and when I applied, they called me, did my psychometric test, went well, and they appointed me. So I actually worked there for like 5 years. Yes, as a traffic officer, chasing cars in the busy
No,
streets of
you're lying
Pretoria.
right now.
Yes,
What, you were a Metro cop?
I was.
Ah,
And each time I tell people, I have to prove it with a picture like, this is me. This is
you
where I
seriously,
was.
seriously,
I
you
am.
were what?
Seriously,
Was it
seriously.
the bike or the car?
No, it was the cars. No, couldn't have been the bike.
And then,
Yeah,
so
and
you get
then
in. Now you're a
I
cop.
got in. Now I'm a cop.
Did you tell them back home, "Hore, no, you're a
No,
traffic cop"?
I didn't. I told my mom, I've got something that I've just. You remember I told you my mom is a teacher.
Yes.
You can just understand how they think. So I told her, no, there's just something I got. It's got to do with roads, and because it did have to do with
Technically,
roads.
you weren't lying.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So she was like, but is it that civil engineering, civil engineering? I'm like, no, not quite, because, but then
And
eventually
also
she
because she's
found out.
educated, right? So she knows what you studied. It's not like, a parent, you can just tell her that you're
No,
doing
I
this.
did this, and now,
Yeah.
yeah. So she understood that, no, and they always want to go around telling everybody else that, oh, my
Yeah, of course, the
child is a
neighbor is a civil engineer.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
So somehow she found out. I don't recall when, but she really fought. We fought so much about it. She's like, no, you can't be doing that. And I told her, rest assured, you don't have to keep sending me money. I'll be fine. And I'll also further my studies as well.
Why do you think, did she look down on the career, or was she worried about your safety? What was it that was, or the fact that you've studied something and that you are not doing it?
I think she looked down on the career. I think for her, she had better hopes and aspirations for me. She felt, okay, this is where I want to see my child, and now she's on the correct path. And she has done so well so far because academically I was a bright child. So now she probably thought, no,
And she
I'm
sees it as a
derailed.
failure on her
As a
side.
failure on her side, yes.
So she's got a chemist and a civil engineer,
Mm-hmm.
and
Now,
none of them are doing what they set
what
out
they
to
said,
do.
yes.
And where's your dad in this whole equation, by the way?
He's around, a sweet and supportive dad. He's he's
He's the
supporting.
softy one.
He's the softy. He supports everything.
Yeah.
As long as you'll just keep throwing a bit of money into
Back
his
home.
account, then
Yeah.
he
Ah, then
doesn't
he's
worry.
happy.
He's happy. As long as you're happy, he's
Yes.
happy.
Oh.
You know how that's how fathers are
Yes,
normally.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Especially
but
with their daughters.
with their daughters, yes.
Yeah.
But with the mothers, I think it's more of. I think right now when I look at it, I feel like our parents normally want to live their
Just
life
through you.
through us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you blame them? They had tough lives, you know.
Yeah,
So
no.
if they can't live vicariously through you, I mean, when else are they gonna do it?
And also, Miles, now that I've grown, I also realize that they struggle so much to get us through school, to have the things that we have, and it's not always easy. So for them, I think they deep inside they feel, I want to do this so my child can get there. And when they have done all that and you are not at that point, it's a bit disappointing for them. Yeah.
And also, when you have kids and stuff, you're gonna see that it's a steep hill, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes. Because exactly, I was laughing earlier on, telling Joss that my daughter is turning 7 on Monday. So she says to me, "Mommy, for my birthday, can I go to Germany?" I'm like, "Sure."
7
At that age, I was thinking cupcakes,
Yeah.
Barbie doll.
labels.
So yeah.
Wow.
And there are times where I feel, this one, I wish you can just grow and take over Tosh. You look at their characters. So that's why I now understand that our parents get to live their lives too. Yeah.
They have like deep-seated wishes for your success.
Yes.
So now you find yourself at as a
Yeah.
metro cop, stopping
Sure.
people for tickets
Yeah, and I'm like,
and asking for cool drinks.
no. No.
Yeah, and
I
so how
always
does that play
loved-
out? How was that?
It went on very well. I loved working in the office space because I'm more of a creative, and most of the traffic officers don't like admin work.
Yes.
So I enjoyed it, and it was safer for me being indoors, in the office doing the admin and everything. But I continued to pursue my studies because I felt, okay, now it was a good paying job at the time. I think I was only 20. So I felt, no, man, this is good. I have my own apartment. I've got my own car. So this is
Life
the
is
life.
good, yeah.
But I felt that, no, man, this is not enough. This is not you. Especially when we do these operations, we go out to the streets and then the people just insult you and make you feel like you are just nothing. And I'm like, but I studied so hard. And being here is not because I really want to be a traffic officer. It's because of I'm not getting to where I want to be and I can't just sit and wait. But then I continued. I registered with the University of South Africa. I continued my studies. I then registered also for mineral resource. So it's like mining engineering. I started doing my mining surveying there. And during those years, but at least I was able to finance my studies. And it was also encouraging. But I felt a void within that. There's more to you than this. Because it just felt like the same cycle every day, all day, every day. And we just had too much time because remember we work 4 days and 4 days we off. We had too much time on our hands, and I felt, no, man, I have to do something. So that's when I pursued my studies further. And in the mix of that, during my 4 days off, I now knew a lot of people. So I met a guy who had a construction company, and during my 4 days off, I would go there and do my practicals. So at least
so
I
you could
managed
get
to
your
graduate,
grade,
and
yeah.
then I got my diploma. And then now I started the mining. The mining diploma. But I started applying for a job. I'm like, no, I should move to construction because I now have my full qualification and this is where I want to be. And I was fortunate enough, I got a job within the city of Tshwane. So it was not so difficult because it was like an internal transfer to the building control section.
Oh.
Yeah. And I worked there for like 7 years as a building inspector. So I would go around, ensure that the buildings and constructions are compliant. Yeah.
So that was your essentially the beginning of like a career, and you did that for
7 years.
7 years plus the
5 years.
5 years. So that was a big chunk of your life.
Yeah, it was.
And then what tipped? When did it like? No, I'm good. Like, grand man.
Yeah. So I moved civil engineering, excited, and the salary looks good. I think it was like 3 times more what I was earning. And I had moved ranks at the Tshwane Metropolis. So I was like, sure, this is a big chunk of money, exactly what I want, Worked first year. But even during the first year, I didn't feel fulfilled.
By the way, did you get a gun?
Yes, I had a gun.
Wow,
Yes.
that was like actually one of the first questions I wanted to ask you. So,
I had a gun. I had
yeah.
a safe. And I was one of the top shooters.
Where Nana?
Yes, I'm left-handed, so I shot with the left.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my husband was so fascinated with the gun.
I'm sure like, every guy is like, what?
And after I got married, I just had to take it back. I'm like,
Yes.
sure, this guy,
Yes. It's like,
he loved it. He would be like, let me just look at it. Let me just touch it. You know? Yeah.
boys
Okay,
will
I
be
forgot
boys.
to tell
no?
you. Yeah, always. I forgot
Yeah.
to tell you one joke. So after my parents found out that I was a traffic officer, then we passed out. So they have to come to the pass out. It's like a graduation kind
Yes.
of setting. So after that, they give us the firearms. So now we really have to keep the firearms at home. I was so excited. And then my first trip back home, I didn't even have a vehicle. Miles, I had it in my bag and I kept it in there and I held the bag because I wanted my dad to actually
see that
it
you're
and actually see
wow.
that I have a firearm.
that you're a cop.
Yeah, so yeah, I just remembered that. So, boys always get
Yeah, no,
fascinated.
for sure.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine how many stories you have from that part of your life,
A lot,
because
yeah.
it's obviously a dynamic environment, right?
Mm,
But I'm sure you also learned some really important things in just dealing with humans.
mm.
And did you get to apply that even in your inspector role, and also how much of that also influenced you when you became an entrepreneur?
Mm. Okay, I think it played a major role in my life. One thing about me, I'm always branded,
Mm.
right?
That's
Yes, and always,
okay.
even if you come to my office, my staff is always in uniform.
So
So
uniform
that
and a
thing,
badge.
yes, I think it was just engraved in me because at Metropolis
Wow, that's
they
such
would
a great insight.
it is because they
And
always
I've
told
never
us
seen you without.
without a touch.
Yes.
Yeah,
Uh, wow.
it's very rare. Yeah,
And by the way, we're
except
filming this on a Saturday, and look at you, you are branded.
except if it's a Sunday.
Okay,
Exceptions are when we
Sunday.
go to church.
Okay, okay.
Otherwise, I would, but
Uh,
yeah,
uh.
I can't. Yeah, so I think that thing, the importance of branding, the importance and what it means to just have the Metro badge on your chest. Because during training, they explained to us that it signifies you, it makes you different. And there's so much authority in that. And as an individual walking along the street or on the road with that badge, you are the city of Tshwane, you are council. So that authority, and it comes with a huge responsibility. But it also defines you. You are no longer a civilian. That's why they said we are not civilians anymore. So you're no longer a civilian. It just moves you into being a different dynamic type of a person. So that was what was engraved, I
That
believe.
is such an amazing insight.
Mm,
I want us to take it into then how it plays out, like even in your staff uniform.
mm,
But I'm so interested when you say it gets ingrained in you that you're not a civilian,
mm,
you come with authority.
mm,
It seems like that is an important lesson to teach people in a role,
mm,
right?
mm,
Where does it go wrong though? In that, I would think if you are taught that it's something to be proud of, stand tall, but invariably we see what we see in the roads, right?
mm.
Why does it fail, do you think?
I think it fails because during a class sitting, we don't all get the lesson.
Hmm.
Like we could all go through the same class, but then there is somebody that really gets it. And then for me, I was one of those people that really got it.
Or also, maybe there's people who are there for the wrong intentions anyway.
Anyway, yes. But also, Miles, even if you are there for the wrong intentions, you do get transformed.
Hmm.
When you really understand how severe or important a role is, then it has to do something to you. And then I think in the business sense of things, it's when you really share your vision with your staff. For them to be so proud to carry the TOSH badge and for them to understand what it means, where we are as a business and where we want to see ourselves. So once you feel that you are part of it and part of that vision, I think you're able to wear it with pride.
Wow.
But you need to really get the vision. You really need to understand
And so
it.
is that the same philosophy you've then applied to your team? When you find them, they need to wear the TOSH badge with pride.
Yes, it is. Because I always tell them, remember when you are in a TOSH uniform, there are things that you cannot do.
Mm.
There are places where you cannot be seen in.
Mm.
So I want them to carry it and understand that power that it poses. The mere fact that it could be just a mere badge, but there is just so much authority that comes with it and responsibility. But also the bigger thing is the vision behind it and what we want people to see through us bearing this badge or this brand.
I think that segues us nicely to what is Tosh, right? Clearly, you and I share the sentiment because we obviously use your product in Gualisa, and you've sort of articulated it that it's in the detergent space. Maybe you can take a moment, just sort of explain what you actually do.
Okay. So at TOSH Detergents, we manufacture quality cleaning detergents, and our main focus is sustainability. I think mainly because of the element that we are using, the pure form of raw materials like the indigenous plant,
Mm.
which makes it gentle to to the people, to the users, as well as
Just
to
the
the
planet.
environment.
Yeah.
Yes. And I was also excited when I joined Gwalisa, because they are also using, or they are also having, we also have the same um,
Philosophy on the planet.
philosophy
Yeah.
about reducing, reusing,
Yeah.
so that ties in perfectly with the sustainability part of it,
Mm.
because we just want to play our part in the environment, encouraging the people to reuse the packaging that we give them, giving them discounted rates when they bring back the same containers,
Yes.
refill stations where they are able to come with their containers and buy detergents directly from us.
Mm.
So it's mainly that sustainability element of things, because as a township business, we understand that there are people that cannot really buy or afford to buy a 27 rand detergent.
Mm.
Like they would rather go buy a bag of milli meal
Mm.
and
Mm.
some chicken feet,
Mm.
But we want it to be for everyone, and because of where we are, we want them to feel included. We want to share our Tosh greatness with them as well.
How did that come about? Like, we sort of know the journey up until you were inspecting buildings. When did you trip and fall into actually thinking, I'm going to build a detergent business? I mean, I sort of get the fact that your mom sort of had some IP, but like, that's still a jump. And please maybe, color it in for us as to how that actually happened.
So during my civil engineering duties, I just felt, I still felt that void. The one that I felt while I was a traffic officer, that I felt, okay, maybe if I move to this sector, I'll do this type of job, then I'll feel fulfilled because I went to school, then, yeah, it's what I want to do. But even with the good salary, with the role that I was playing there, I still felt that no, man, there has to be more to life. There has to be more to me. Life cannot just be about waking up, paying our bills, and then going to bed, you know.
So you
No,
need you had that sense that your purpose wasn't being
it wasn't being,
filled.
yes, it wasn't being filled. I felt that there has to be more. I always felt like there's more to me. There's more, there's more that I can give to other people. But I didn't know how. And I enjoyed making soap. I used to make soap all the time at home. But then lockdown happened.
Ah.
And when lockdown happened, I think that it just gave me time to reflect, to sit and think. Now that they have closed off everything, like the job that I feel defines me, like, oh, I'm a civil engineer, what now? What would happen with me? And I still continued making soap. But somehow making the soap, it gave me so much comfort. I got so excited making soap. I made different types of soap during lockdown. And during that process, it's nothing I can explain. It's not something I can really explain to you, Miles, as to what really happened. But it was like something just hit. Like, but you could be doing this, like making soap. No, I can't be making soap. Who would I sell the soap to? There are brands that are well known in the market. So why would I sell soap? And I shared my soap with friends, family, my sisters. My younger sisters would be like, "Didn't you make some soap?" I would share with them. But it was during that research and reading, because I read a lot. And then during that time, I was listening to Pastor Miles Monroe, and he spoke a lot on purpose. And then it just hit. Like, you have to be doing something that God has created you for. And it's that unique thing that He has placed inside of you that only you can unleash. but it is there. But with me, when I listened to that and when I made soap, I would feel content. So I started
The world made
researching.
sense.
It made sense for me. Then I started researching to say, okay, I want to sell. I will sell the detergents if that's what I need to do. But where do I start? Where do I go? Like, why would this even be a business? And by that time, I didn't know there were so many people who were making detergents. So I researched and I listened to people who were in business as to what are they doing? Where did they start? How do you actually start? Where do you get to a point where you feel, okay, my purpose is making soap. Is that actually a purpose? And along my research, I found that there are incubation programs. So I joined Kemin. When I joined that incubation program, they started telling us more about soap making technically, but also the opportunities that it has. And I think it opened up a whole new world for me as to so I can make soap that would be able to sit on retail shelves. So there is that possibility. So I can also make soap that will also enable me to hire people that can make a living out of what I've just done and started. And I'm like, I'm going to do this. And I did it parallel with my job and making soap. I was like, I'm going to make soap. It was so exciting for me. But there was this issue of fear. I was so scared. I'm like, but now what do I do? Because I know I want to make, I make amazing soap, but I want it to look so beautiful. And I want it to have that impact. And then where do I go? What do I do now? How do I tell people that I'm selling soap? Like, how do you start? I'm like, now I'm just going to be like my mom who would carry some soap for the staff members at school. And that's not what I want. I want it to be a serious thing. But with the incubation, it really helped. And with my packaging and my label, because I was so intentional about it to say, this is what I wanted to do. And I remember saying to one of our advisors that I want to sell my detergents on retail shelves. And he was like, no, that's not possible. You must think along spaza shops, in the townships. I'm like, but why? He's like, no, because there are big players there. It's not a place for you guys. You are still small kids. You must just do it alongside, the township, the back where you're coming from, the rural areas. Yeah, that's the perfect market for you. But because I knew that I wanted greatness, I wanted it to be big, then I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. But it got so overwhelming for me and I couldn't manage to do it on my own. Then I had to get a guy to help me, and then he would come to my place and we would mix the soap in the garage. So normally I would mix it in the evenings after work, and then when he comes, he would decant, package, and everything. But I think for
And at
me,
this point, you've got customers.
I do. I do have customers, and most of my customers are my friends and family,
But they are
because
paying customers.
they are paying customers. Because after you have put in the packaging, the labeling, and the incubation, it helps to understand that this is how you need to cost it, and this is how much you need to sell it. So, with the issue of fear, I spoke to a friend of mine who was making shoes. She makes traditional shoes. I told her, I've got this product. I want to sell it, but I don't know where to start. I'm thinking of having a big launch, balloons. She's like, no. Take a picture of your product, post it on your WhatsApp status, and that's it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that. I finished my research and development around October in 2020. And because it was in the midst of lockdown. And I'm like, festive season, December time, I'm going to launch. But I was so scared. I'm like, who's going to buy this? What is it that I'm doing? But I enjoyed looking at my products. I would go to the garage and look at them, and it just gave me so much fulfillment. And January, I said, okay, it's the start of a new year. I'm going to launch this product. I couldn't. Fear it gripped me so much.
And paralyzed you.
It paralyzed me. I was like, no, but why did I even start this? What am I going to say? Like, I just had so many whys. And what if it fails? What if it fails? What if it fails? And I actually never thought, what if it doesn't? Until I spoke to her. She's like, no, take a picture and post this thing on your WhatsApp. Don't wait. Just wake up one morning and post it. Just do it.
So basically, don't overthink it. Just
don't overthink it. So February came. I was like, I'm going to do this now. Valentine's Day. I didn't. Whew, I know, but then March came. The 5th of March. It's my mother-in-law's birthday. I was like, today, I'm going to do it. And I just took a picture and I posted it on my WhatsApp status because I had made a crate of 16. You know, they were sold out within an hour. They're like,
Wow.
who's selling this? I'm like, I'm selling them. Who owns this brand? It's my brand. Oh, wow. Lufuno, we're going to buy. I want 5, I want 4, I want 3. And that was it. That's how it started.
You know, I mean, this story is, I think maybe there's so many people watching and going through these steps right now, where fear cripples them. And in most cases, like in your case, you know, you said maybe it's fear of failure, but in your case, I think it was fear of success.
Sure. You think so, Miles?
Yeah, because you know, fear of failure works differently to fear of success. Fear of success is you already made them, you loved your product, you know. So that had a weighting. You knew that this thing deserved to be out in the universe. In fact, you knew that this thing deserved to be successful. So that's got a very different fear factor to it, because now you've got a responsibility
Sure.
to make it successful.
Yeah.
Whereas fear of failure is slightly different. It's like it's more negative. It's more personal. It's different. Yours was weighty. It's like, you know, you're pregnant with all this possibility of taking this thing and make it into a massive success. And that is so amazing to hear it being narrated in a way. I mean, you can even see it in your face as you tell the story, right? And then, so then people started buying it.
They started buying it. And I was overwhelmed now because I had so many orders. Yeah. People, like my friends always say, you always have, that's a good problem to have. I'm like, no, it
It's
wasn't.
different. It's difficult.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm like, so many orders. Now I should work throughout the night. And remember, I still have my job.
Yes.
I must work throughout the night. And sure, it was a lot of work. Then I realized, no, I need somebody who's gonna assist me. At least if I do the mixing, then he will package, decant, and then
That's how you
process
brought in
the
the guy.
orders. That's when I brought in the guy. And I'm so proud he's still part of the team today. He's our production manager. So he came in and then he would come to the garage every day, mix up. Sure, but Miles, I think I found my true purpose the day I paid his first salary.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
And I think, again, just maybe to reiterate that point, the fear of success in your case is because when it's a purpose, it's different. It really is.
Yeah.
It really, really is. It's heavy. And I'm so excited that you finally found it. Or I would even argue maybe it found you, you know, because a lot of things had to go right for you to be in that space, right? You know, COVID had to happen. All of these things. Let's assume COVID hadn't happened, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so cook, tell me more. And then so then the business is growing, people are coming and buying your soaps.
People are coming and buying the soap, and now the estate is complaining about the regular guy who keeps coming in and the people who are coming to collect their orders. There's just so much traffic happening.
New problems.
New problems. Then I realized, okay,
You
then
need
we
to
need
find
to
a
move.
space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when we then looked for a space, and right now we had been engaging with the Innovation Hub. Excuse me.
I think that's when did I meet you? Because you just randomly came up to me and say, "Here, try my stuff. It's the best thing since sliced bread."
Yeah. No, we were engaged with the Innovation Hub, and then we were also partners with Proudly South African.
Yes.
So we had to ensure that we have that Proudly South African logo.
Yes.
So then we moved to the Innovation Hub. That's when we moved to the Ekasi Labs in Mamelodi, yes. And then with the Proudly South African affiliation, they really assisted us a lot, you know, with getting the message out there. But I think that is when the business started growing to say, okay, we also need to inform people and to teach people about our product and the importance of buying local. So it was a pivotal moment for me to be in that setting. And remember, Miles, by then, I don't have any information on entrepreneurship. Like, it's a new thing for me. But I am so zealous. I just want to learn and learn and learn and attend everything and be there. But I always said to myself, just show up. You
Because
know,
90% of success happens when you show up.
when you show up.
And one thing I do remember about you, geez, your energy. You know, I meet a ton of people, and to be honest with you, it's like half the time I'm like, I don't know who this is, and it's embarrassing actually. But I remember I remember you vividly. I can. You were wearing a Tosh
Yes,
shirt,
I was.
yeah, obviously,
And
but
you know what you said? I'm like, I want to talk to that guy. I want to talk to that guy. After you spoke, I'm like, yo, I want to talk to him. You know what? I just want to present the product to him because what he's doing, they can use our product. And there was a long queue. I'm like, I'm going to stand here. And immediately I got to you and you were like, hi. I'm like, hi, how are you? My name is Lufuno from TOSH Detergents. And it was so quick, right? And he's like, hi. So is this your brand? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, so you always wear your brand? I said, always. And I'm like, and I showed him the
the
product.
bag.
He's like, and you always carry your products? I'm like, all the time. He's like, I want to listen to you.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah.
Because I lived that myself, and I remember when I ran Vuyo's,
Yeah.
to a point after I sold it, it was a problem because I didn't have any clothes. All my clothes were either red, my sneakers all red, and everything had Vuyo's. Even like, because my belief about branding is you don't put it on the cheap Chinese stuff that will tear and look like this, when it doesn't even have shoulders. It's just because it's so cheap. I bought really good stuff and then put my brand on that. And that changes people because they firstly know that you believe, but also you know that your brand deserves to be on good quality stuff.
True.
So I always said, like, I can tell a wannabe-preneur from a real entrepreneur, because a real entrepreneur, firstly, is always wearing their brand. Secondly, they always have their brand with them because they don't know where the opportunity is going to strike. So you automatically just, in like less than 15 seconds, you met two of the like major key requirements. And I was like, I could spot you a mile away from that.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, we just spent 2 minutes talking about it. That's how pivotal. And I hope people who are listening or watching take that from you. Because like you said, it's ironically for you, it was instilled while you were in the traffic department, right? And in fact, that whole thing is called soft power. It's the ability to influence people subliminally without having to say, do this. They can see it for themselves. If you believe in your product, why wouldn't I?
Yeah. And the funny thing is now people will be like, sure, I also want a TOSH shirt. My uncle called me the other time. He's like, please send me TOSH shirts.
You joke. You know how many of the Vuyo's like swag gear or the uniforms, but we even didn't call them uniforms because uniform sounds like
Sounds like it's
like
obligated
you're working
in it.
you're working in retail.
Yeah.
No, us was swag.
Yeah.
Like, so people started wanting to buy our swag because it was that level of detail. And we actually started making some good money on the swag, on the merchandise.
Yeah.
Right? So don't underestimate the power of the
people
merch.
be like, I also want some. And sometimes I make dresses as well.
Yes.
And then I would ask them to
Yes.
put a TOSH.
Yeah.
Be like, I want this dress with a TOSH.
In terms of the feedback from your customers on the product, because now you've gotten to a point where you're manufacturing at scale and so forth, what has the overall feedback been like? And that's the first part of the question. The second part, do you think your customers know and care about the fact that your soap is essentially plant-based? It's not, detrimental to the planet. Do you see that as a compelling reasons why they're buying? In fact, what's the general feedback?
Okay, so people love our product. Some would complain that it's got too much foam. That's what I would get all the time. I'm like, but you people like foam.
Yes.
So most people would complain about the foam, that it's too much foam. So after we clean, then we must clean again and clean again. But I'm like, no, but that's a good problem. As long as it's cleaning, it's degreasing, and you've got foam, then you are good. The sustainability element, or the element of the indigenous plant,
Yes.
it's a certain group that
care.
really gets it.
Yeah.
It's the more of the IKS group, the Indigenous Knowledge
Yes.
System group, that really appreciates it, and the heritage, as well as sectors that are really interested in the innovation. But based on where we are, and majority of our clientele, it's the price factor. People are really worried about, can I afford this?
it.
More than what can it do for me? So that's one thing I've realized, because the other time I was like, I'm really struggling to get my my market, because not to say to get it, but to really define it as to who is
Is
my
your
market.
customer?
Yeah, because I have people that really buy the product because of this indigenous plant, and I have people that just buy the product because they can afford it.
On the indigenous plant part, does that mean your product, all your detergent products, don't have chemicals? Or
So
is it a combination? Maybe just a little bit about
So
how.
our products are not biodegradable. They are semi-biodegradable, meaning that they do have chemical, but
Mhm.
a large portion of it it's that indigenous plant.
Plant.
So instead of using a certain chemical, we have replaced it with the extract.
Okay, so the plant is, I suppose the plant is the planet positive part, but you needed to add some stabilizers
Yes,
and
and
stuff like that
preservatives so
to
that it can have a longer
yeah,
shelf
shelf
life.
life, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm.
And would it work for industrial clients, or is it basically mostly focused for an end user consumer?
It would work. It would work for an industrial place because it's mainly the foam part of it.
Hmm.
Yes, it's like the natural foam.
And then what other line extensions? So I know at Gualisa we use your dishwashing liquid,
Mm.
and I think we've also got the
The pine gel,
pine
the
gels, the
multi-purpose.
multi-purpose one.
Yes. So it's mainly the detergents that require foam.
Hmm.
Yeah. So instead of putting that raw that step that boosts the foam,
Yes.
we use it as our foam booster.
Okay.
Mm.
And will that lead to washing powders and stuff like that as well?
Most definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
And
our next area of consideration.
is it? So
Yeah.
that's where you're going next.
Yes.
And did you eventually then make it to the retail dream that you had? Like, I mean, obviously, Twalisa, we are retail.
Yeah. You are.
But you know what I mean, into mass commercial retail. Has that happened?
Yes, it has happened. And it was not an easy journey, but
Mm-hmm.
it did happen. We started off initially with a spa that's closer to me
Yes.
because it's the franchise stores, so you
Yes.
can directly chat to them and present your product, and they loved the product. It then spread to four more spas just around the area,
Mm-hmm.
and the big break came when we signed with Shoprite and Checkers, and that was an exciting thing for me. I think, but what was said
When
about
was
it,
that?
it was last year.
You eventually made it to the big guys. You're
Yes,
now
we
at
did.
Shoprite, and how did that go?
That was a gruesome journey. It was hard
Yeah.
because remember with the Shoprite and Checkers journey, you apply online. They give you a reference number, and when you keep following up, normally nobody even gets to respond to you.
Mm.
So it was a whole 2 year of prayer and just committing
Mm.
everything. I remember my dad would call me, "How is it going in business?" I would tell him everything is well, but I really want to sign with Shoprite and Checkers, and he'd be like, "You know what, my child, I'm gonna pray about this every day." And I'll be like, "Thank you so much." So unfortunately, when we signed with Shoprite and Checkers, he had passed away.
Oh
So he
man.
passed away. I think it was 3 months before, and then we signed with Shoprite and Checkers.
You know,
So
he actually had to go upstairs and get this deal signed from
you
the
know,
top. You know what I
definitely,
mean?
that's what my friend said. She's like, "You know what? He just had to go, and
And
like, Lord,
preordain this thing.
we need this thing to happen." So yeah, but it was so exciting for me because it was an answered prayer.
Yes.
Yes. So it's not easy at all. Until we followed up, we were able to meet up with the buyers
Yeah.
from Shoprite and Checkers at a workshop,
Mm.
which is why I said to you it's important to
To
show
show
up.
up.
Yes. And then we engaged with them and we showed them the reference number, and that is how we got the ball rolling.
Wow, the determination. You
Mm.
know, the interesting part is that even if you had showed up there and told them your story, it's one thing to tell them the story of your journey and your challenges. It's another than to show them a reference number from 2 years ago that you've been doing this.
Mm.
And that's what people forget, is that this stuff is hard.
Mm.
Because if it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
True.
And the ones who do it and continuously follow, your opportunity comes.
Mm.
It just often doesn't come when you really want
Yeah,
it, which would
yeah.
be super
It would
nice.
be super nice, yeah.
For it to happen like this. I was saying to somebody that, like, maybe it's called overnight success because of it often happens over the nights.
Yeah.
It happens at the
At
nights.
that night, yeah.
You know,
When
and when no one else is there.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So it eventually came
It
through,
eventually
and
came through, And it was a huge breakthrough for us. And we're doing well with Shoprite and Checkers. When we started off, they started us off with 5 stores. They were like, we just want trial and error. We want to see if you'll
See,
manage.
yes.
And currently we are on 20 stores.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's an amazing platform. I think one of the things that I'm super proud of, it's the support they give us as small
Yes.
businesses. They paid my bursary at startup school,
Yes.
and I did so well. And after pitching my business to startup school, I was also a winner there, and they gave me a huge prize to
Yes.
inject into the business. So it's thank you to Shoprite because they do care about us
Yeah, no, I
and our
know
growth.
Maud works very hard in making sure that those things happen.
Most definitely, most
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Because she called me, she's like, you have to apply for this
Yes.
startup school thing. It's a bursary and go through it and pitch. And they would constantly call,
Yeah.
after 2 weeks, they would call and ask, how is it going with the course? I'm like, it's
Yes.
going well. Are you coping? I'm like, yes. Is it helping you? I said, yes, it is. So yeah, I'm really grateful for that opportunity.
I'm actually grateful for this opportunity because I think there's so many people watching you and they're literally living your life in terms of the trials and tribulations and the loss of hope. And then, and you showing them that it does actually play out. Just consistently show up, show up, show up, show up.
Constantly show up. And with the business growth, and when one door opens, it opens several doors.
Yes.
Because we just recently listed with Pick and Pay.
Yeah.
We haven't started supplying them, but we are in. So yeah, it's our products will be on the shelves before end of the year.
I'm so excited. So Christmas is coming early this year.
Christmas is coming in at TOSH Detergents.
Yeah. So maybe people should be ordering theirs as well, so that for the mikitis in December.
Yes.
If you need foam to clean up all those Christmas
grease
dishes.
and
Yeah. Tell me though, if say I had a check to write you for whatever next stage of where you want to take your business, how much would that be? And where would you use the money?
I think it would be Miles. I think it would be a 15 million rand check.
Mm-hmm.
And
15 or 50?
15.
Mm-hmm.
15, just 15.
Mm.
And then with the 15, we would buy ourselves a site. We would have a construction where we have a warehouse. We have a factory space. We have training facility for people who want to learn how to make the detergents. And because we get a lot of queries, it would also have greenhouses where we have planted our indigenous plant to preserve it and to have it. And a special lab where we are able to then press it out, extract, and to also get things tested in-house in our facility. And as I look out, I see the parking lot, I see our trucks ready to export the product overseas. Yeah.
That sounds like a good use of the check. Because you've got impact, so you're going to be training people. You want to invest in maintaining and keeping the indigenous knowledge, and then
In-house.
the scaling
Yeah.
of the product.
Yeah.
Tell me, in terms of, say, in that money, building a lab for research, so taking that indigenous plant to the next level where you now don't need the chemical stuff, because that's actually where I'm most excited about. And I think that's probably a massive opportunity and a unique proposition for you, where you can actually make this product entirely out of planet positive products.
Yeah.
How possible is that?
It's 100% possible. So we've started engaging with the University of Limpopo, TEFLOP, and they're helping us because we want to create a premium product which is completely biodegradable.
Right.
No chemicals, just the use of the plant.
Wow, how far are you with that?
We've just recently engaged them. So they've sent me quotations.
Well, I mean, I think that's a space we can also look to assist. We can take this offline. But to me, that I think is going to be your biggest differentiator. You see those trucks exporting, you want to be in a position, I think, where firstly, you're exporting things that are planet positive, but secondly, looking at different models on how people buy the product, right? Because in detergents, a lot of it is water.
Yeah.
How do we figure out how to send it out without the water?
Mm.
Because then you are carrying, these trucks are literally just carrying
Water.
water.
Yeah.
Whereas if it was in a powder format
Mm.
or a tablet format,
Mm.
and then you can just put in your water at location, maybe that's also a positive thing. And have you considered anything like that, or
I
is it
have.
is it far fetched?
No, it's not far fetched. I have considered something like that because I was fortunate to be called in by the Germany embassy.
Why
They were
not now?
interested in the product, in that indigenous plant.
Mm.
But for them, that is something that they want. Because of the distance, they want it rather in powder form
Form.
or in tablet form.
Right.
Yes.
And would you be doing like soaps for humans, like to body washes and stuff like that, or you focusing more on the I suppose detergents?
Detergents. I'm really passionate about
What
clean
detergent?
spaces and cleaning, not really
People.
the people, yeah.
Huh.
A lot of people have been saying, we want foam bath, we want foam bath. I'm like, okay, I'll think about it.
I never
But
thought of that. Huh, that kind of makes it. That's a lot of bubbles.
yeah, they want the bubbles.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'll think about it. But people and
Yeah, it's got
it's not
different
really,
testings
yeah.
and
But
yeah.
when it talks to, when I see a table, when I see the floors, the tables, the walls, yeah,
Mm.
it speaks to me like we must do something about this. We should do something
Mm.
about this grease. That is me.
Mm.
Yeah. But
Yeah, because like obviously working in communities in townships, you know, and in fact, as you know, the biggest thing now is people getting sick
mm,
from eating foods and stuff. So cleanliness
mm,
and all these things are attributing factors to that.
mm,
So the more of your product can get out there and people can keep spaces clean,
mm,
I think, you'll be doing the Lord's work
true,
essentially.
true.
So what is next for you? What is the big goal? Like how do you know that you'd have reached success? What does that look like?
Sure. Um, I think for now, like what we're saying, that most of the people are sick in the townships
Mm.
because of the food that they are consuming.
Mm.
And it's the food that they are consuming because of the affordability element of it.
Right.
With us, we want to make our detergents more accessible, affordable, especially in the township space. Even if it's allowing them to bring, like the Twalisa
Mm.
system of bringing their
Own container.
containers, filling
Mm.
up quality cleaning detergents. I would really be happy to walk into a rural area in Limpopo, finding people using these detergents, not having to walk to a spa or a shop, right, which is also important.
Mm.
But for it to be so accessible to them, employing more people that will be managing such stations and places, it would really mean a lot to me. And like I said, having our own factory
Yes.
space, producing, no limitations of space or resources. Yes.
Do you
That-
think people are brand conscious? Do they still care about the usual suspects in the detergent space, or they are now willing to try out new brands?
People are willing to try out new brands. They get excited when they know, especially if they even know who the owner is. They get excited when you tell them that it's a local product. They get excited. I think people now are slowly but surely getting to understand the importance of buying and supporting local and what it means. Like, because I would ask people, why do you buy this particular brand? Like, I grew up using this brand. So there isn't actually a particular reason why. So they are more prone and open to trying out something different as long as it works. Yeah.
And that's the trick, as long as it works. And
Mm.
they'll tell you if it doesn't
They
work.
will tell you if it doesn't.
Yeah.
Actually, they won't come back if it
Yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah, because we found that initially our hypothesis, our worry was that people won't buy something unless it was a specific brand
Mhm.
of rice, for example. And I think maybe prior to COVID, that was maybe true.
Mhm.
Because if you've got your last 5 rands, you want to buy a product that there's no risk of it not working.
Yeah.
So it turns out people's decision is on risk mitigation than risk optimization. In other words, they would rather have something that they are sure it will work than something that they think is going to be amazing.
Mhm.
It's a very interesting decision, but it makes sense because if it's your last 5 rands, you can't get the decision wrong.
Yeah.
You rather be safe than
Yes.
sorry, I guess.
True.
Is But what we then discovered that during COVID and post COVID, nah, people are like, give me value, man. Give me
Yeah.
something that works,
Mm.
that's reliable,
Mm.
and if I'm happy with it, first I'm willing to try it. But if it works, I'm coming back.
Yes, most definitely.
And if you look at it that way, it surely means that your growth prospects are super, super high because you now also not just delivering on a product,
Mm.
but you're also building a brand, right?
Mm. Mm.
So, what do you see then if all these things are positive? What keeps you up at night? What worries you?
Whew, that's a difficult one. Sure. I'm not sure if I have enough time to think about it. What worries me is whether we'll be able to contain this growth. Like I always said,
Why
like
would you want to contain the growth? Let growth go.
we let it go.
Let grow.
But also, Miles, the thing is, what I've observed is that a lot of small businesses remain small businesses,
Mm.
and that's not what I want for my brand or for my business. So what worries me is maybe I'm not phrasing it right, but we want to be a mainstream business. We don't want to remain small forever.
Mm.
And there are certain things, channels, and systems that we need to put in place that ensure that indeed this is where you are headed. Because when you look at most small businesses or startups, they're just cycling in the same space.
Yes.
I'm not sure if it's a mentorship element, or maybe the
Such a
thing
good
that
point.
we don't have blueprints, because I think at times I get to a point where I feel, okay, we have grown, we have reached this stage. What now?
Mm.
What now from here? You know? And it's thoughts that you think about, it keeps you up at night.
Mm.
And maybe because there are a few people that you can reach out to, like mentors, it
Mm.
helps. But I think it does stress me a lot, because I also believe that the mentor I had a year back is not the same
Similar
person
to
who can
take
help
you to the
pivot
next level,
to the next level.
to scale.
Yes. So for me, I think it's
Why do you think the startups or the SMMEs remain SMMEs? Like that's a category. You know what I mean? Like once you're in it, you stay in that category. Meanwhile, y- it's meant to be a
a
transition.
transition
Something
where
you go through. Mm.
um I think we don't have, for me, I feel like we don't have enough blueprints.
Success
Okay,
stories.
success stories. Or we have success stories of people that are not willing to hold or to share, to help people to the next level. Because there are
Huh.
certain areas where you get smiles and you feel, I've done all I could do, and we
Mm.
are where we are. But this plane just has to take off, and it's cycling in the same place. It's going around in circles.
Mm.
And for people out there, they're clapping. They feel, yeah, you're doing well.
But you know that
But
you're
you know
majoring
that
in the
there is
minors.
more
Mm.
to this.
Mm.
This thing can be really big. But where are those people to say, yeah, at this level now, this is when the pilot knows that at this altitude,
Mm. Do
we
you
take
think that
off.
that mentorship should come from other startups that have started from here and now are on the bigger side, sharing their insights, or do you think that should come from corporates? Because you're giving me such an interesting thought that I hadn't thought about up until now, is that maybe we should be inviting guests here on the pod that have transcended the stage.
Yeah, I think it has to be people who have done it, who have walked the journey.
Hmm.
It doesn't really need to be corporate. Corporate can come in the funding element part of it, but we need real stories. When somebody listens to my story, when I say I was in the garage, I
Mm.
did struggle with finances, cash flow. I did struggle with so many orders, and I didn't know where
How
I'm
to
going to
fill
find
them.
money to fulfill these orders. These are real life issues that we face. But then they need to know, then how did you do it? And with me, I always tell people, I realize that I'm good in pitching, and then I polish that craft, and I do it, and I do it well. And
Mm.
it has helped my business so much because I was able to raise funds, and
By entering
it's by
competitions.
entering
In fact,
competitions.
we are chatting to another entrepreneur, and he said, like, people don't realize that that is a form of capital raising.
It is because I think from the machinery that we use, I was telling Bulelani from Township Economies, I'm like, your pitch was the first pitch I won, and that was the first machinery we bought at TOSH Detergents. Because from using the bucket and a wooden stick,
Mm.
we then moved to a mixing drum because of that. So it's very much important. It's a form
I
of
like that, from
fundraising.
bucket and a stick to a
Yeah,
machine.
to a machine, and a through pitching, a 3-minute pitch. So you must also take cognizance of such things, that okay, I'm also good at this. Some people are good public speakers and it makes
Mm.
good money for them.
Mm.
So if they are able to raise funds that way.
Mm.
But we need guidance, Miles. We need people to tell us, this is where you are, this is how you then pivot, this is how you then grow. Like when you're in matric or grade 12, then we've
Mm.
got this tutors that come in and tell us, focus more on this.
Mm.
This is what is important. And when you're at this stage, this is what you need to be doing now, preparing for your trial exams. After your trial exams, this is how you then ensure that you're going to make it for your final exams.
But would you really listen? Because, I mean, obviously, we run an accelerator. We work with a ton of entrepreneurs. And my biggest frustration is like, it's like you are heading cats. Or in fact, it's like you are heading pigeons, you know? Because even if you tell someone that this, bruh, you're going to hit a big wall here or a roadblock, whatever, and you tell them that if you go down this path, this is exactly what's going to happen. And they don't listen. And I've had to be comfortable. My team and I had to be comfortable with the fact that ours is to give you the advice, like a GPS. But it's up to you to go down that road, right?
Yeah.
And the truth is, it's actually even sometimes important for you to hit that road or that brick wall yourself, because it strengthens you so that you can say, hey, last time I did that, this is, because then it's real. It's your own scratches and scars, right? So my question is, even if we brought entrepreneurs who've gone through this journey and they say, and they give sage advice, my thoughts is that you're still not going to listen. You're still going to go do what you want to do anyway. So what's the point?
But it also depends, because that means that the same people that are doing the same thing are now cycling. They are going around in circles.
And that's a decision that
It's a
now
decision.
they are making.
Yes.
It's,
It's also what most people would say, to say, no, you can't be in retail if you're not 3 years plus. But I was like, but who says that? We are going to break that norm.
right.
It's a decision that you make to say, no, 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 this is not what I'm going to accept. I'm going to believe for that.
But for example, let's use that case, right? So someone will say, no, wait until you have more than 3 years to go into retail, because that's based on their lived experience. Because sometimes you must be careful what you wish for, because once you get it, you're no longer this business. Like a business that starts from 0 to 1, it's a totally different business, because now you focus on product, customer. Once you move from 1 to 100, you are now no longer in a business of product, you're in a business of scale. So you are not dealing with logistics. Did the stock arrive? What if it was a temperature issue and the bottles popped? Like, who's paying for that? So it's a totally different business. And if you haven't mastered the basics here, sometimes, like, we've seen so many businesses, great businesses, that went past all these stages and sort of short circuited the system. They don't longer exist. So that advice is not trying to necessarily hold you back. It's just to say, there's a reason you climb a mountain from base camp to the next base camp. In fact, how you climb Everest, you climb from base camp, you go to the second camp, and then maybe you even go to the third one, but then you have to go back to second. You don't just keep climbing. You actually you take
can
steps back, because you are acclimatizing to the altitude, right? And that's why you take a Sherpa to climb the mountain. If I just told you, here's the GPS, this is the track you follow, you're never gonna make it up there. We will be fetching you with helicopters, right?
Yeah.
So I'm saying all of this to say, you
The
can
journey
give the
is important.
advice. We can share the stories, and maybe we should share them, but you'll still have to make up your own mind, right? Still your business.
But what do you think sets SMMEs apart from mainstream businesses?
Time. That's
Sure.
all. It's a function of time. Honestly. And the thing is, what you don't get to see with time is that time is not someone said it best. The only measure, a great measure of time, how you actually physically see time, the only way you can physically see time is have children. Because there's nothing else
Yeah.
that will show you the change of time other than watching a child grow.
True.
Right? So now when you're running a business, you're in year 3, you get frustrated, like things are not moving fast enough. But you're not comparing it to where you were 3 years ago. You're comparing it to where you are now and as vis-a-vis where you want to be. Right? So if you look at any business that has stood the test of time, the biggest function to their success is time. They went through the stages, right? It doesn't mean you shouldn't try and short circuit it. You wouldn't be an entrepreneur if you didn't think of smart ways of. But yeah, I do think that's the major. Like, if I were to give you numbers, I would think a business theoretically remains an SMME between 5 to 7 years. That's a long time.
It is, yeah.
Right? So after 7 years, if you're still SMMEing, there's something fundamentally wrong.
Yeah.
Between 5 and 7, the use of the world, the ones who are overachievers, maybe can exit the SMME space in 5 years into medium-sized business because you're doing the basics right. You got mentors, you got all the basics right. So that maybe gets you in at year 5. But typically, it does take between 5 and 7 years. And one of the reasons why some businesses fail is because no one tells them that it takes between 5 and 7 years.
Yes.
They're thinking, I should be so much further now.
Yeah. Yeah.
When the 5 to 7 years, it's a statistical number. It's not that it's a number. I'm just, and I wish you to go through 5 years. Who wants to go swimming here for 5 years? It's not fun.
But I think what I just took away from what you said, and now I think I have an answer. I think we also don't reflect as entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
During one of my nominations, it was like that process was grueling. It was so long, and then it required me to sit down and just think back. But I think that was important because it made me realize how far I've come. Because at times it's like, okay, this one win, next win. What's next?
Yes.
What's next?
Yes.
You don't really get to sit and realize, no, but from bucket to mixer.
No, from traffic cop to world changer. Let's not forget, from being proud of having a gun in a taxi to keep making places clean and shiny.
Yeah.
Being in retail.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So take the wins, and appreciate them.
True.
I know I'm talking more than I like to talk in the podcast, but one of the things that I've, come to realize with entrepreneurship, there's 2 stages of entrepreneurship. That's all you're going to go through in your entire journey as an entrepreneur. There's only ups and downs. That's it. So when you're up, be so grateful. Thank every day. It's like, thank you. Like, be super grateful when things are great.
Yeah.
Because it's only a matter of time before they're not again.
Sure.
But why you are grateful when they are great is that when they are not, you must remember that they do get great.
They do get great.
So don't lose hope. It's just you're just in another stage that sucks. And go through that process because invariably you're going to go up again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that would be my parting shot. And I'm so super excited to watch your journey. And like you, I genuinely believe you are destined for bigger and greater things. And more importantly, I think they're coming.
Yeah.
Some level of patience maybe. And I don't have it myself, so I share that. But they're coming.
Yeah.
And so with that, I'll just say Godspeed and good luck, man.
Thank you so much, Miles.
Yeah, make this place in the world a greener and cleaner place.
Indeed.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Guys, I hope, like you, guys, I hope you enjoyed the session. It's always fun to see the story from its genesis, and particularly when a story comes from left field, you know, from an entire corporate career, uh, and then finding your purpose, I think is one thing that was a key takeaway from me for
Mm.
the session, is that once you found your purpose, it has an immense responsibility, and it's a heavy responsibility. But the upside of that heavy responsibility is that it takes you through the tough times,
Mm.
because you know that this thing is destined to happen. So I wish you great destinies, and see you on the next one.